Everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm just going to be going through a little race recap for Ironman 70.3 Chattanooga, North American Championship, and I've done pretty well at the North American Champs when it was St. George. Definitely was hoping to do the same there in Chattanooga, and did end up having a pretty solid day. I'm just going to go through kind of how the whole trip went. It was really fun to be able to finally drive to a race again for the first time in a couple of years. Had a great time driving down with Ryan and Brent. Everything went really smooth. There was no bike issues, no travel issues, and it's kind of nice to, kind of be staying a little bit separated from the other pros for a change. I mean, I really love staying with, Nick and the whole RTS team, and it's the best way to travel, for a lot of races. But this time around, it was kind of nice to get out of the the super focus that a lot of the pros have, including me, and just take it a little bit easier before the race. So everything was great there, and it was awesome to have the Ironman Now guys. It was Topher Riley and Kenny Withrow stop by a couple days before the race, record a little bit of my training, get some video, and they were super professional and just kind of showed up, got it all banged out in an hour. It didn't cost me any time, which is really nice, and it really is good to see Ironman kind of doing some of that media side of things a little bit more with the pros. I think they're trying to kind of keep up with the PTO and what they're doing, so it's great to see. Other than that, nothing really eventful happening in my prep for this race, and I knew that the race was gonna kind of play out as these races have been lately, where you gotta kind of make that front swim group, or at least be really close. And with the downstream swim, usually it's a little easier to hang in there, even though this swim was a little bit longer. That's kind of how it played out, that the down current effect seems to somehow make it a bit easier for me to hang in, or I've also just improved my swim. So I was super happy to have a great swim, just hang kind of at the back-ish of that lead group, and get out. Other than Ben Canute, who was a few seconds ahead, it was pretty much all the main contenders right there, and I was right there. So I was able to kind of bridge up to within that group and be where I needed to be early on in the bike. Felt good. I knew that the legs were good, and I was going to have an opportunity to potentially make some moves on the bike. So not too much eventful happened until about the halfway point. A gap sort of formed where Rudy had kind of put in a surge, and it was, I believe, Matt Hansen had just bridged up and gone to the front, and then he wasn't really able to close that gap right away. So I was, I think, third or fourth in the group at that time, went around. This was at about 45K into the bike, and I kind of worked hard to bridge up to Rudy, and I was just about there. And then we hit the really steep uphill, the one bigger hill on the course, and he kind of put in a big effort, and he closed the gap to Ben then, because Ben had been off the front, and the two of them got over that hill first. I was next. I wasn't too far back, and I had been pushing really hard, so I had a feeling if I could bridge up quickly, we might be able to get a gap. So I did put in a big 5 minutes there. I think I was over 370 average, and that included a few turns and some zeros on the downhill. So really big effort there, and I did bridge up to them, and we had a bit of a gap, but unfortunately kind of, Rudy had worked really hard, and I guess he looked back and saw that the group wasn't too far behind and decided not to keep pushing it, and probably was smart. I mean, he doesn't want to blow himself up, and he knows he can run well. So that was the last sort of chance really to get away, I think, and that group wasn't, all those guys rode really strong, and they just were hanging tough. So it ended up being a kind of a pack ride from there to the end, and it was sort of more, okay, let's conserve energy. I was at the front for a fair chunk of time, but I wasn't pushing too hard because I knew it was going to come down to the run. So all basically came into transition together. I was, I think, second or third in the group at that time, and it was just fireworks at the start of that run. I mean, guys going out super hard. Obviously, Jason West is an incredible runner, and not surprising at all to see him take off. A few guys up there pushing it early on that I thought I might be able to get back. Andre Lopez actually started the run just behind me, and he absolutely blew past me and closed the gap all the way up to Jason West, which was crazy. That was super, super aggressive. Obviously, he's improved a lot, and he was having a really good day. Think he probably pushed it a little too hard there, and actually later on he ended up kind of struggling. But Steve McKenna was also up the road. At the beginning, I was running a lot with Lagerstrom, a little bit with T.O. Matt Hansen was kind of getting his legs under him still early on, and was kind of sitting in 6th, 7th place for a while there, and I wondered, like, okay, well, let's see what these guys got. Like, I feel okay, but we'll see who I can catch. So I did kind of feel a little bit rough in the first few miles. Like, I knew I was moving fine, but I had a stitch, and my heart rate was really high. The sun was out. It was a bit of an uphill for the first, felt like a couple miles. So I was definitely just trying to stay calm. There was a ton of fans at first and just cheering, and I just thought, okay, a lot of these guys are probably getting just a little bit of adrenaline and going too hard, so let's hold back here. Notably, the only kind of really good runner who was actually behind me at the beginning, running even slower than me, was Rudy Von Berg. So I kind of went by him and was wondering, okay, is he just playing his cards smart here, or is he struggling? We'll see. So get a few miles into the run and things start to feel a little better for me. Started picking off a couple guys. I went by Eric Lagerstrom at like kilometer 5, and then I could see Steve McKenna not far ahead, and I just focused on him and just sort of worked into it. I did pass him to get into, I guess it was 4th at the time. But every U-turn I could see Rudy Von Berg was just about the same distance behind me. It was only about 15 seconds for a really long time. So I was kind of trying to keep the pace hot and hopefully distance myself from him. So I passed Steve probably around halfway. And then I could see Andre Lopez was starting to come back. Matt Hansen had taken off and he passed Andre around 10K, and then Andre was starting to struggle. I really started making up a lot of time on him at like 12, 13, 14K, and I noticed he's coming back, and I figured I'd probably catch him. But I also at the same time was noticing Rudy was gaining a couple seconds on me, so I figured this was going to be a tough battle with Rudy for sure. Interestingly, in the pre-race video for Fighting Chance with Ironman, I said I was most looking forward to racing Rudy because we've had some really close battles, and you know, I got him in Oceanside, and I figured he'd be coming out swinging. But past Andre, probably mile 10 or so. There's a pretty steep uphill. Not long after that, I heard people starting to cheer for Rudy, like while I was running by them. So I knew Rudy had kind of gotten really close. So kind of go up that hill, then some flat section, then there's a downhill, make a right-hand turn, and then I can hear Rudy coming. Mile 11, he caught me and he put in a really big surge. He got me right away, like probably got to close to 5 meters by the time I kind of got my leg speed up and matched his pace. And I was super close to giving up right there, honestly. It was all I had in me mentally to just stay on it and just push it to try to get back on that shoulder. And it was probably a couple minutes, but I did finally close the gap back down, got on his shoulder. We kind of went to a downhill section. I was able to recover a tiny bit there. I knew it was going to be tough because he went by me with some really good speed, and I figured it's going to be tough to hang in here, but let's see what we got. So then we went through the last aid station, probably would be about a mile 11.8 out of the 13.2. I got a little bit of ice, some fluids, swig of, I think, Coke, and then right after the aid station, he took off again. I upped my leg speed and I kind of matched him, but as soon as we got onto that pedestrian bridge on that upslope, my legs just didn't have any power left, and he was taking off, and I kept trying to up my cadence and I just couldn't hang on to the pace. So pretty tough to watch him running away at mile 12. But that's racing, and you know, had to kind of settle for 4th place. So those guys were just really, really strong. All three of them. That you know, Jason West with the win. That's no surprise. We all saw it coming for a long time. As soon as he's coming off the bike with the leaders, he's going to be the favorite in most races. Matt Hansen, like, you just never know with that guy. He kind of, you know, just did the World Championship, and hadn't really done much training in between. I was talking to him, he'd barely done any running, and he comes out and has a great race and then runs sub 110. Like, awesome performance. And Rudy, it's been cool to see him sort of adjust the way he races. He used to be super aggressive on the bike and kind of put it all out there, and then he wouldn't run too well, not because he's not a good runner, but because he would empty the tank on the bike, and usually he would have a lead, and that would be the best move. So really interesting to see how he's adapted his race strategy to be able to have success in a run battle as well, if he can't get away on the bike. So good on him to just have a super smart race. Probably one of the smartest run in the whole race, really, to be able to, you know, let everybody go and make up time later on. But definitely disappointing to finish fourth. It's tough to not make that podium and be so close, but I really think I did have a good race. It was a smart race. If you replay that race over and over again, there's probably, you know, half the time we'd probably get a gap on the bike and end up, you know, getting away, maybe just me, Ben, and Rudy. But in this case, Matt Hansen was the guy who was kind of closing the gaps, and he was strong, and they hung on, and then all of a sudden it's a run battle with some of the fastest guys in the sport. And I felt like I ran pretty well. A 112 low is solid in pretty hot. Like, it wasn't brutal, but it was definitely hot enough that it was a factor. So I didn't do anything wrong in terms of my race execution. It just didn't play out in my favor. So I think if there's one thing that, you know, maybe I would consider doing differently in that first race block, it would be maybe doing one less race. I think, you know, nowadays they're just such competitive races. You got to bring your A game, and I think I just raced one too many, where if I'd have maybe not done St. Anthony's and really focused for Chattanooga, that might have given me the extra 1% on the run, or 1% on the overall, and it could have played out differently. So thinking about that as something to learn from, but overall, really happy with my first 4 races. Only one podium, and it was a win, and it was a pretty big one, so super stoked with that. Been really consistent, made some really big improvements in my swimming to be able to be in that lead group in 2 out of the 4 races was really, really special for me to kind of finally see those gains. One of them was a wetsuit swim, one of them was non-wetsuit, so I have the confidence that I can swim really well in any race now. So thanks so much for the support, and thanks for watching. I'm going to be taking a mid-season break now and coming back strong, and hopefully having a really good race at Ironman 70.3 Mont Tremblant in 5 weeks' time. So thanks again, and we'll catch you later.